right, big question. Jay Powell, Fed head, is he going to go political? Is he going to juice Joe Biden's re-election, pump up the money supply, start slashing interest rates left and right? Good question. Joining us now, Judy Shelton, senior fellow at the Independent Institute and former Trump economic advisor. And also with us right here on set, giving me lots of company, Steve Forbes, Forbes media chair and editor-in-chief and author of Inflation, What It Is, Why It's Bad, and How Not to Fix It During an Election Year. Sorry, I was paraphrasing. First of all, Happy New Year to both of you. Judy Shelton, is Jay Powell is he gonna goose the money supply, crash interest rates, elect Joe Biden? Is that what's gonna happen here?
Oh, Larry, you're not allowed to even ask those questions in polite company. I do think that the market noticed that at the December press conference, Chair Powell took a decidedly dovish tone. He had always insisted that the Fed was going to be very strict and keep interest rates at a level that would cut off growth to decrease demand so long as they were above the 2% target rate. But now he's starting to say, well, we don't have to actually get down to 2%. We could be approaching it. So it would seem by the Fed's own previous standards that they're now getting a little bit more open to reducing interest rates in an election year. And I can't help but compare the situation. As you well remember, in 2018 and 2019, President Trump was quite unhappy with the Fed because he said, why would you unnecessarily restrict growth when we have low unemployment, which was the result of a pro-growth program of lower taxes, less regulation, better energy development, unleashing that capability for our country. And we were below 2% inflation at that time. And people thought that was scandalous, that the president would say anything. But the Fed had raised interest rates 7 times right after he got into office.
I thought he was
right. By 2019,
I thought Trump was right.
The Fed decided he was right. The Fed agreed.
Right. Yeah.
And they took back 3 of those cuts and said it was hurting manufacturing.
I know.
Yeah. So now I think if they do cut, in a way, it vindicates him.
Let me get Steve in here. Steve, what if, let me ask you one. Okay, so that's an important point of view. But what if Jay Powell, A, doesn't want a 3rd term as Fed chair, and or B, knows the next president, if it's a Republican, say it's Trump, or whoever, Haley, won't reappoint him anyway, and therefore decides to play it straight? And, you know, keeps a tight rein on the money supply, keeps interest rates high, keeps the dollars steady, whatever, keeps getting the inflation rate down. What if Powell plays it straight? Is it possible?
Not likely, because even though he's been, it's human nature. He's been in 8 years. He'd like another 4 years, just as Greenspan wanted more, Ben Bernanke wanted more but didn't get it. They love that power. As Henry Kissinger said, it's the ultimate aphrodisiac. So the thing to watch for is not so much the public interest rates, the federal funds rate, but what they do with bank reserves on which they pay interest. They cut the interest costs there, urge the banks to start making loans. That's not a very public thing, but juice up bank lending. Tell the regulators don't go bonkers on new capital requirements and things like that. Those are the things where you could juice up the economy but not get political flack for it. But make no mistake, he'd like another 4 years.
No, I think he would. You really think he would?
Oh, what is there after that?
I don't know. Well, you can go play golf. I don't know. Whatever one does.
You can do it now.
After the Fed. All right. We haven't solved that problem, but the weight of the evidence is probably with both of your somewhat cynical views. I want to read you that. I want to go into the Federal Reserve, woke, and D.E.I., right? Diversity. What's the right phrase? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay. Now, let's go back. First of all, I want to read Larry Summers. This is several years ago. Larry Summers accurately said this: we have a generation of central bankers who are defining themselves by their wokeness. They're defining themselves as by how socially concerned they are. They're defining themselves by how concerned they are about the environment. All right? Now, that was his argument. They should be worried about inflation. He said this in, I don't know, the middle of 2021. He was dead on right, completely right. Okay. Judy Shelton, Is the Fed woke? Is the Fed bound by DEI? Is that becoming their principal focus? In fact, let me add on. DEI and climate change, you knew that was coming. Are those going to dominate the Fed agenda?
There was a study of the political affiliation of the 500 Federal Reserve economists, 400 of whom have PhDs. And the ratio of Republicans to Democrats was 1 to 10, 10 times as many Democrats. And I think that a certain political philosophy permeates the Fed. It's the ethos. I even find it laughable, people who dismiss the possibility that the Fed could be anything less than nonpartisan, when you consider that the former chair of the Fed, Janet Yellen, is now one of the most important people in the Biden administration's cabinet as Secretary of Treasury. Biden's chief economic advisor, holding your old position with President Trump, is Lael Brainerd. She was the vice chair. And to think that they only became Democrats when they walked out of the door of the Fed, I think is missing a lot. And the Fed is seeking to be a player in this realm. And I just hope that the discouragement of being concerned with climate change and DEI is taking hold. I think they've been shamed. The Fed's only social concern should be to protect the integrity of the money.
Of the dollar and price stability. All right, let me read you. This is from, I forget who put this out. I think the Washington Free Beacon put this out. Okay, here. These are questions. Have you ever worried your untouched or unprocessed natural hair might be deemed unprofessional? First of all, I don't really have any hair. This is a key. This is a DEI question. Steve Forbes, you get ready. Now, wait a second. This is part of their instruction. They had 3 instruction sessions. Watching TV or reading a magazine, do you ever wonder why none of the characters or people look like you? All right, here's another one. When you walk into a store, do you assume that employees might be looking at you because they think you're going to steal something? All right, this is part of DEI. They have sessions in the Federal Reserve. Now, the Fed is the central bank, but they are not immune to any of this stuff. I'm in the wrong generation. I mean, I'm in the wrong period, and I wouldn't understand any of this stuff anyway. Steve Forbes, what does this mean? What does this mean?
What it means is they're going to cover both bases. Back in 2021, when they started this stuff, this is when this stuff started.
Yep.
They are worried about a Democratic administration going whole bonkers on modern socialism. Now, with the election coming up, they're going to do both. They're going to cover their base on the environment and things like that, nudging banks, don't make loans to bad companies like oil. And on the other hand, they're going to be ready to swerve. Now, Jerome Powell is great. He should be an actor. 2 years ago, he said he's the new Paul Volcker. He's going to crush the economy and conquer inflation.
But if they
and now he's morphing into Arthur Burns.
If they worry about this
who was under Nixon and killed the dollar.
DEI and social justice and all the rest, how the hell are they going to do their job? This is this is the central bank, for goodness sake. We got to get out of here. I don't see how they can do that.
They can't do what happened to the Defense Department, which went woke. Now we have an understaffed and undermined military.
Judy Shelton,
they need intellectual diversity.
You'd never make it, Judy.
Diversity they should be looking for.
You wouldn't make DEI. I won't make DEI. Forbes won't make none of us. We're just out there. Coming up, folks, we're going to talk about Donald Trump, Nikki Haley, and Fannie Willis's boyfriend with Mark Simone and Joe Concha. Please stick around. Lots more to do. DEI at the Fed. My God.